Phil Mickelson has survived gambling revelations, LIV Golf warfare, sponsor backlash, and years as the PGA Tour's favorite villain. But this time, club officials reportedly found him mid-round and sent him straight off the course. According to explosive reporting, the six-time major champion was confronted while playing at the Farms Golf Club near San Diego after a female employee accused him of inappropriate physical contact inside the clubhouse. Phil was reportedly told to stop playing and leave the property. Imagine that scene. One of golf's richest, most recognizable, and most influential players is walking through another ordinary round at a club where he had practiced for decades. Then officials arrive on the course, interrupt everything, confront him with a serious accusation, and his round suddenly ends before the 18th hole. That is not a bad scorecard. That is a full clubhouse earthquake. However, Mickelson's representatives strongly dispute major parts of the story. His attorney says misleading information has circulated, maintains that objective evidence contradicts the allegations, and says Phil resigned his membership rather than being formally expelled. So, was Mickelson genuinely kicked off the course by club officials, or has a complicated private dispute been packaged into the most damaging version possible? Subscribe now, because this controversy reaches far beyond one unfinished round. It threatens Mickelson's reputation, raises difficult questions for LIV Golf, and could permanently reshape the final chapter of Lefty's career. The controversy began with reporting from Golf Digest concerning an alleged incident at the Farms Golf Club in Rancho Santa Fe, California. The private club sits near Mickelson's longtime home and reportedly served as one of his principal training locations. This was not some unfamiliar resort where Phil appeared once, played 18 holes, complained about the greens, and disappeared. The Farms had been connected to his life for decades. According to the report, a female club employee accused Mickelson of making non-consensual and inappropriate physical contact before he began a round earlier this spring. The employee reportedly rejected the alleged advance and informed supervisors after Mickelson returned to the course. Club officials then took the complaint seriously, started reviewing what had happened, and located Mickelson during his round. Sources cited by Golf Digest said officials confronted him on the course, instructed him to vacate the premises, and watched him leave without completing play. That mid-round confrontation created the headline now racing across professional golf. Yet the allegation remains disputed. Mickelson declined to respond directly to the accusation, but his spokesperson said any misunderstanding had been cleared up. His attorney, Tom Clare, went much further, describing circulating claims as misinformation and warning that Phil had retained defamation counsel. Clare also argued that objective video evidence contradicted the description supplied to reporters. Golf Digest later reported that no camera captured the alleged interaction itself. A club representative similarly said no available footage showed the two parties together or directly recorded the disputed moment. That disagreement matters enormously. If no recording captured the alleged contact, then neither side should pretend a publicly available video has already settled the central question. There may be other footage, timestamps, witness accounts, club records, or communications that provide context, but outsiders have not seen a complete evidentiary file. The San Diego County Sheriff's Office reportedly attempted to locate supporting evidence after learning about a potential allegation. The department said it had not found evidence demonstrating that an assault occurred, while encouraging anybody with additional information to contact investigators. That statement does not prove the employee lied. It also does not prove Mickelson committed an offense. It means law enforcement did not locate evidence supporting an assault allegation based on the information available at that time. Club disciplinary standards, workplace investigations, civil claims, and criminal cases can all use different procedures and burdens of proof. The Farms issued its own carefully written statement without publicly naming Mickelson. The club said it was committed to maintaining a safe and respectful environment, required members to obey its code of conduct, and treated misconduct reports seriously. It also said the employee received immediate and continuing support, an independent investigation occurred, and decisive action followed. The statement added that the individual involved was no longer a member. Multiple sources identified that person as Mickelson. Then came another crucial correction. Early coverage described Phil as having been kicked out of the club. Mickelson's representatives later said his membership had not been revoked and that he voluntarily resigned. Golf Digest updated its language to reflect that position. Therefore, two separate questions must remain distinct. Was Mickelson confronted mid-round and told to leave the property that day? Sources cited in the original reporting say yes. Was his permanent membership later revoked by the club? His representatives say no. They maintain that Phil resigned. Those differences may sound technical, but they completely change how viewers understand the event. Being instructed to leave during an investigation is not automatically identical to being permanently expelled. Resigning after a dispute is not necessarily identical to receiving normal discipline. The exact sequence matters. Unfortunately, golf social media is not famous for patiently examining exact sequences. It prefers a 5-second verdict, 3 fire emojis, and somebody announcing that the entire sport has officially collapsed before breakfast. Still, even the most cautious version remains devastating. Mickelson was reportedly confronted during a round over an allegation involving a female employee. He left without finishing. The club conducted an internal investigation and said decisive action occurred. Phil is no longer a member, although his camp maintains that he resigned voluntarily. Nothing about that situation resembles an ordinary misunderstanding over a tee time. For Mickelson, the location makes the embarrassment even deeper. The Farms was reportedly a familiar sanctuary where he practiced away from tournament crowds and prepared for major championships. Private clubs offer famous athletes something public venues cannot: routine, protection, familiarity, and space from constant attention. Losing access to such a place, regardless of whether the departure was forced or voluntary, carries symbolic weight. Phil was not merely visiting. He belonged there. Now, one of his longest golf relationships has ended amid public allegations, competing statements, and potential legal threats. That is why the LIV Golf crisis angle cannot be ignored. Mickelson was not simply another player recruited by the breakaway league. He became the face of golf's rebellion. His move helped LIV gain credibility, attention, and instant conflict with the PGA Tour. He accepted extraordinary criticism and turned himself into a lightning rod. When Phil joined LIV, many fans viewed him as the aging superstar willing to destroy his traditional legacy for guaranteed money. Others saw him as the fearless veteran who challenged a powerful organization and created opportunities that eventually improved conditions for every elite golfer. Either way, LIV needed Mickelson's name. His competitive results were not always spectacular, but his historical importance remained enormous. 6 major championships, 45 PGA Tour victories, decades of popularity, and one of the most recognizable personalities in golf cannot be manufactured through another team logo. Phil supplied legitimacy. Now his prolonged absence and this controversy create another headache for a league already facing questions about financing, audience growth, player movement, and long-term stability. Mickelson has competed only rarely during the current season. He previously announced that he was stepping away because of a serious family health matter. That explanation should be respected unless he chooses to provide additional details. He missed major tournaments and remained uncertain about when he might return. Then this club story arrived. Naturally, viewers began connecting the two situations, even though no reliable evidence proves that the alleged incident caused his wider absence from professional competition. Timing produces suspicion. It does not automatically produce truth. Mickelson's representatives continue to say his attention remains focused on his family matter. The employee involved has not spoken publicly, and responsible reporting has protected her identity. That privacy deserves respect. She should not be hunted online, identified through speculation, or attacked because certain fans dislike allegations against their favorite golfer. Similarly, Mickelson should not be declared guilty of criminal conduct when law enforcement has not produced such a finding. Both principles can exist together. Take the allegations seriously, take the denial seriously, then demand evidence before delivering a final judgment. What cannot be denied is the reputational impact. Mickelson has already endured years of controversy involving gambling, criticism of the PGA Tour, remarks about Saudi Arabia, sponsor departures, and his central role in golf's civil war. Every new scandal lands on top of those earlier conflicts. Fans rarely examine reputational disasters as isolated events. They see patterns even when individual controversies involve different facts. Supporters call this unfair piling on. Critics call it accumulated evidence about character. The truth requires more discipline than either reaction. A history of controversy does not prove the latest allegation. Yet that history influences how quickly people believe the worst interpretation. Phil spent much of his career escaping impossible positions. He hit shots through trees, off hospitality areas, around grandstands, and from lies that would make normal golfers declare the ball missing before even searching. His imagination became part of his greatness. Public scandals operate differently. You cannot open the club face, aim 30 yards away from trouble, and spin your reputation beside the flag. Legal threats might correct false claims. Statements may establish important context. Evidence could eventually clear Mickelson or support parts of the report. Until then, the uncertainty itself becomes damaging. Sponsors dislike uncertainty. Leagues dislike uncertainty. Private clubs absolutely dislike uncertainty when employees, member conduct, and public attention collide. For LIV Golf, the strategic question is uncomfortable. How strongly should the league defend the man who helped launch its revolution? A loud defense could become dangerous if stronger evidence later supports the allegation. Total silence could look disloyal and leave one of LIV's founding figures isolated. A carefully neutral statement might protect the organization but satisfy nobody. That is the classic public relations triple bogey. LIV can emphasize due process, respect Mickelson's family privacy, avoid attacking the employee, and wait for confirmed facts. That approach may sound boring, but boring is occasionally the only safe club in the bag. The PGA Tour should show similar restraint. Tour supporters may enjoy watching Mickelson face another crisis after years of attacking the organization. Executives, current players, and media partners should resist turning a serious workplace allegation into a victory celebration. This is not another scoreboard point in the PGA Tour versus LIV battle. If the allegations are false or materially misleading, Phil deserves the opportunity to defend himself. If they are supported, the employee deserves accountability and protection. Neither outcome should become entertainment for corporate revenge. The club's response will also face scrutiny. The farm says it conducted a thorough, independent investigation. That sounds decisive, but the public does not know the complete timeline, what evidence investigators reviewed, whom they interviewed, or exactly which conclusions they reached. Private organizations are not always required to publish internal personnel and membership investigations. Confidentiality can protect the reporting employee, witnesses, and everyone involved. However, secrecy creates unanswered questions. Did officials temporarily remove Mickelson from the course while collecting information? Had they already confirmed enough evidence to make an immediate decision? Did witnesses see anything? Was the departure voluntary after discussion? Did Phil resign during, before, or after the investigation concluded? Each version carries a different meaning. The club must balance transparency against privacy. Mickelson's attorneys must decide how much evidence to release without exposing private individuals or damaging potential legal action. Meanwhile, the public fills every blank with imagination. One side pictures security officers dramatically surrounding Mickelson on the fairway as shocked members watch. Another imagines a polite conversation followed by Phil quietly driving away. Neither scene has been publicly established in that level of detail. The reported facts are simpler. Club officials located him mid-round. They confronted him regarding the accusation he left before finishing. His camp disputes claims that he was formally expelled and says he resigned his membership. Those facts are already dramatic enough. There is no need to add invented shouting, police handcuffs, secret surveillance footage, or a cinematic chase involving golf carts moving at a terrifying 12 miles per hour. Humor can expose the absurdity of online exaggeration, but the underlying allegation is serious. A female employee reported unwanted conduct involving a powerful and famous club member. That power difference matters. Private golf clubs often depend heavily on wealthy members, prestige, and influential relationships, employees may fear that complaining against a celebrated figure could cost them their job or reputation. That is why the club's claim that it supported the employee deserves attention. If staff members believe fame protects certain members from consequences, workplace trust collapses. A code of conduct becomes decorative wallpaper while ordinary employees carry the risk. At the same time, fair investigations must test allegations carefully rather than assuming every report is automatically proven. Supporting an employee includes taking her complaint seriously, protecting her from retaliation, gathering evidence, and reaching a conclusion through a credible process. It does not require social media to conduct the investigation. Mickelson's defamation warning raises the stakes further. Defamation cases can expose communications, notes, sources, and evidence through legal discovery. That possibility may encourage careless commentators to slow down, especially if they have repeated claims more strongly than the original reporting supported. However, threatening legal action is not the same as winning a case. Phil's attorneys would need to identify specific false statements, demonstrate the applicable legal elements, and overcome protections available to publishers reporting on matters of public interest. Golf Digest, meanwhile, would likely defend its sourcing, reporting process, corrections, and characterization of contested facts. A courtroom battle could become more damaging than the original article because private details might enter public records. Phil must decide whether correcting the narrative is worth extending the story for months or years. That is another brutal risk calculation. Mickelson built his career by accepting aggressive odds. Sometimes those decisions produced magical victories. Sometimes they produced disasters that everybody except Phil seemed able to predict. Now, restraint may serve him better than another heroic gamble. If objective evidence truly clears him, releasing it carefully could change public understanding. If no recording captured the alleged interaction, his representatives should explain precisely what available footage proves and what it cannot show. Precision matters. Saying evidence contradicts an allegation sounds powerful. Explaining timestamps, movements, witnesses, and locations would be more useful. The club faces the same standard. Saying decisive action occurred sounds strong, but it does not publicly establish every disputed detail. Its decision may have been justified under internal rules, yet outsiders cannot independently evaluate an investigation they have not seen. For now, the responsible conclusion sits uncomfortably between two loud camps. Mickelson was reportedly confronted during a round following an employee complaint and left the property before completing play. The club says an investigation and decisive action followed. Phil's camp describes the matter as a cleared-up misunderstanding, disputes damaging claims, and insists he resigned rather than being expelled. No criminal charge has established guilt. No public evidence has completely resolved the dispute. The unfinished round has therefore become a symbol of Mickelson's unfinished career. Will he return to LIV Golf? Will he address the allegations personally? Will his legal team file a case? Will the farms release additional clarification? Will objective evidence settle the dispute? Or will both sides remain locked behind carefully drafted statements? Those answers could determine whether this controversy becomes a temporary storm or the final defining chapter of Lefty's public life. Phil's golf achievements cannot disappear. His 6 majors remain in the record book. His victories, creativity, influence, and popularity changed the sport. Legacy, however, is more than a list of trophies. It includes how a star used power, treated people, responded to accusations, and behaved when the cameras were not supposed to be watching. That standard must also include fairness toward the accused. Legacy should not be destroyed by claims that evidence eventually disproves. Mickelson now needs clarity more than another clever comeback line. The club needs confidence in its process. The employee deserves privacy and protection. LIV Golf needs to avoid turning a serious allegation into partisan warfare. Golf fans need patience, which may be the least available resource in the entire sport. What happened at the farms cannot be settled by loyalty to Phil, hatred of LIV, or resentment toward the PGA Tour. It will be settled, if it ever is, by credible documents, testimony, video context, investigative findings, and direct statements. Until then, separate the confirmed event from the contested conclusion. Phil left the course mid-round after being confronted. He is no longer a member. Why everything happened, whether the allegation is accurate, and whether his departure represented expulsion or resignation remain disputed. That distinction is not an excuse. It is the difference between reporting and rumor. So, what is your verdict? Should Mickelson release the evidence his attorney says contradicts the allegations, or should this private dispute remain outside the public arena? Drop your opinion in the comments. If you believe golf stars and private clubs owe fans complete transparency when controversies explode, hit the like button and share this video with another golf fan. Subscribe for every major update, controversy, and clubhouse clash, because this fight is nowhere near the 18th green. Phil's next move could clear his name, or turn one unfinished round into the final chapter of his legendary career.